So this month, I have been going back into the story vault and retelling some stories that I used to tell more often, I guess. And fortunately, so far, everyone at least who's come up to me has said, "Oh, I didn't remember that at all. You sure you told that so many times?" I must not have been paying attention, which is flattering. Or they said, "Oh, I remember that story, but it was different this time." So, here we go. Do you know when this story takes place? And do you know where? And yes, it has been pointed out that that is actually the beginning to Star Wars. That actually fairy tales begin once upon a time. But somehow I coached everyone here into a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Well, anyway, you can imagine a long time ago and far, far away, there was a great empire, a kingdom of sorts, and a great queen. This queen was known for her wisdom, for her power, for being an extraordinary leader of people. It had been her sole life's focus until one day she was with child. Well, she went to her advisors and she gathered all the experts and physicians and psychics and astrologers and asked for guidance on this child and who they would be and what they would be and how they could be. And they said, "Well, the future is not yet written. The future is never perfectly clear, but you are destined to have a child so extraordinary, a leader to surpass even your legacy. But only if you choose wisely. And if not, it may look quite different." Well, this was ominous and scary enough. All parents worry that their children will turn out okay. So sure enough, she started preparing everything she possibly could to make sure that this child was the chosen one. She had prepared the room months in advance. It was gilded with gold. She had started a special field of food that was not just organic and non-GMO, but tended to by monks and blessed and prayed over day after day. I mean, you name it, she spared no expense. And when her child came, the same thing followed. The most elegant toys, the most perfect music, everything that anyone could possibly imagine as the purest and most extraordinary setting for a baby to be raised in, she had it. Attendants, caregivers, you name it. But a strange thing started to unfold. Because when she was about 2 years old and talking, where are you? Remember 2 years old, roommate? She's talking, it's okay. She kind of just seemed like a not very enlightened little girl. In fact, as she grew up, she kind of started to seem a little bit, I mean, is this okay to say about her own children? She's kind of spoiled. I mean, everything was brought to her, and you better believe she expected it, and she demanded it. And by the time she was 4, she was kind of a little tyrant. She treated the servants poorly, and she treated her nannies poorly, and the mother thought, "Oh my gosh, this is exactly the disaster they warned of. That everything was possible but balanced on the head of a pin, and if I just made one mistake, it would all blow up in my face." And here it is. And it gets worse. Why? Because she was pregnant again. What could she possibly do? She already tried doing the best of everything. She already tried all the experts. She read all the parenting books, even the videos and DVDs, and they haven't even invented videos and DVDs back then. So she decided to do the most difficult thing she'd ever done. And it seemed wild and it seemed strange, but as she thought about it day after day and prayed about it day after day, she decided one thing was clear. That more important than a great legacy as a ruler or a leader or a master of people, she just wanted her daughter to have a good life. A simple, human, good life. That was all she could really want for her daughter. Not power, not riches, not complexities, not this terrible balance to get right. And so, shortly after she was born, she sent her away. She sent her away to be raised on the furthest edge of the empire by a humble farming family who already had many kids of their own, and she swore them to secrecy. Never tell my daughter the truth. Never. She must not know where she came from. She must not know she's royalty. She has to have a simple, beautiful life like your family. It's enough. And the queen left heartbroken, devastated. But she felt that that would be her greatest gift. Well, the years went on, and sure enough, the young girl blossomed into a young woman. And as a teenager, she was quite exceptional. Kind, thoughtful, smart as could be, helpful, generous. More than anything you could imagine for a wonderful life, and more than anything you could imagine the character of an extraordinary person. All the village loved her, all her family loved her, and she had been happy her whole life until, you remember what happened? Who remembers? The dreams. The dreams started. They were so vivid, so real. She'd wake up. She said to her parents, I know this is crazy, but I have this dream. And in my dream, I am destined to be the queen. No. That's cute. Go milk the cow. But again and again, no, it's so vivid. It's like I can see it, I can feel it. It's like there's something in my blood that's destined for something different than this village, than this farm. No idea what you're talking about, honey. You need to get back to work, stick to your chores, don't make trouble. And the same thing happened with her friends and with her brothers and sisters. Did you ever feel this, she would say? That you might be king or queen? And of course, they all laughed at her. People like us do not grow up to be people like that. I think you need to focus on what we do here. Keep it simple. Let it go. But the dreams continued, and they haunted her. They haunted her until it became something much different than an inspiration. It became like a terror. Because she didn't want to see that picture and not understand it again and again and again. Why feel destined for something more and yet not have it come true? Until one morning she woke up and she decided, that's it. I can't handle this anymore. I don't care if people don't believe me. I don't care if my family doesn't support me. I have to find out the answer to this question myself. Why do I feel like this? I'm going to the castle. I'm going to tell the queen herself about my dreams. So she packed up her little hobo bag, the polka dot thing with the piece of bread and a knife and a candle, and she tied it up, put it on a stick. And she went into the kitchen area of the humble little cottage where her family lived, and she thanked her parents. She said, I love you. And this home and this village is all I've ever known. You are my life, you are my family, but something's missing. And if you don't have the answer, and you can't help me to find the answer, I'm going to find it myself. And nothing's going to stop me. So save your lectures. I'm out. And the parents, you know what they did? They freaked out. She took off. She was gone over the hill, across the river. What do? They quickly summoned the village messenger. And they said, you've got to get a message to the queen. Her daughter knows. We didn't tell her. I swear to God, we didn't tell her. You've got to tell the queen. She's looking for her. Nothing's going to stop her. And so sure enough, the messenger ran and got on the biggest, fastest horse in the village and ran across the countryside until it came to the next biggest village, and then told that messenger, who got on an even bigger and faster horse and ran across the country until that horse was exhausted. And, well, you get the idea. And eventually, in the middle of the night, the final messenger stormed across the bridge to the castle, pounded on the castle doors, and they disturbed the queen in her sleep. What's going on? They told her, your daughter, the one on the other side of the empire, she's coming. She knows. Who told her? Nobody. They say she's got dreams. And she believes she's destined to be the queen. What do you think the queen did? Well, the advisors had ideas. We'll head her off at the pass. We'll send someone there to rob her, or throw her in jail, or we'll capture her and tell her she's crazy. That happened to you? Probably. No, the queen said, enough. She knows the truth. And we must go and meet her in that truth. Prepare my wagons immediately. We are leaving without delay. And she started to get dressed. And off they went to find her daughter. And that is the end of the story. Now, obviously, there's more to the story, and there can be a sequel, and the first daughter gets therapy, and, you know, all that kind of stuff, a job she loves. But ultimately, as we can imagine, this young woman becomes the queen and surpasses her mother in kindness and wisdom and power and character. But this story feels like such an important story to share when we talk about spiritual identity and when we bless a new being in the world. Because this is all of our story. And when we forget this story, life becomes so difficult. And when we remember this story, everything changes. Why? Because we, as the girl, are born of something extraordinary. We, each one of us, are an expression of something more powerful, more wise, grander, and more amazing than it would seem. And we look, and we turn to our friends, and we turn to our family, and we say things like, don't you think there's more to all this? And then people say, maybe you shouldn't drive home. You know, I think you've had enough to drink. And you say, no, it's not the wine talking. You know, I have this feeling that there is something sacred in this world, that there is something sacred in each and every one of us. And they say, even the government? You say, yeah, even the government. And they say, even criminals? And you say, yeah, maybe criminals too. And they say, even the criminal government? No, I'm saying. But the point is that we all see things in this world. All of us. Everywhere we look that we don't like. This is the village life. This is the way it is. We're simple. we don't rise above. And that's what she heard around herself, day in and day out. There's nothing that special about it. But I think we're here, literally, here today, because every single one of us believes in our hearts that there is something more, that we are an expression of something greater, and that we want that to be revealed fully in our lives. Not just in peak experiences, not just in meditation or prayer, not just when things are going well, but it's like we want the blindfold off, the glasses cleaned, the lens pure, so that we would understand things as they are, an expression of spirit. And in that way of seeing, all identity is spiritual identity. All life is spirit, moving, expressing, changing, evolving, and working to awaken the same in us. But let's go back to the story, because we have to participate. That's one of the most important parts of the story. It's not just the fact that we forget where we come from and that we're all spirit, but it's the fact that against all odds, against her culture, against her family, against everything that fed her and kept her in place, the heroine or the heroine of our story says, it doesn't matter what the world is doing. It doesn't matter what society is doing. I feel a higher calling, and I will do whatever it takes to fulfill it. And the beautiful thing, and it's interesting because this is an old story, you find it in different cultures, usually in Eastern Europe is where the story comes from. But one of the interesting things that occurs in all the versions is that the queen always comes, or the king, depending on the story, to meet the lost child. Which tells us that when we make it our life's mission to remember, to embody, and return to spirit, then life and spirit will return to us. They work together. But we have to take the first step. We have to overcome the fear. We have to release the limits, because the truth is the same either way. That spirit is our nature, that God is our essence, and that we are simply individualized expressions of the one. So on that note, and drawing towards a close, what I'd like you to consider is, what does this look like in your life every day? What does it actually look like? Spirit first. Taking on, like our little friend here, a little body, a little life, a little family for a time. And regardless of the condition of that body or that life or that family, it's ours. For our spirit, for its awakening, for its unfolding, and so that it can bring its greatest light to the world. And what is that challenge you're lost in? What is that identity you've come to misunderstand? You think you're your job. You think you're your health. You think you're your popularity, your income. Where's the mistaken logic? And the beautiful thing that rests at the heart of all this is that once you remember the truth, where you come from and why you are being called, not because it's psychological, not because it's wishful thinking, but because it is your essence. It is spirit speaking through you. Then what happens is everything else falls into harmony. Everything else makes sense as it is, because spirit comes first. And the rest, well, it's just an adventure. It's just a quest. It's just a great story to return you to the place you began. So, let's take a quick moment. Close your eyes. And ask yourself, what story are you lost in right now? In your life, is there an identity? Whatever that is it aging? Is it relationships? Is it health? What is that story that it's time to separate? And what would it mean to that story if the truth of it is that you are spirit? And that life wants you to remember that more than anything else. And that whatever is in front of you, like it or not, is a gift. At least an opportunity to learn, to love, to let go. And shine more